friends, I'm Annaliese, the all-Canadian reptile girl, and this is the perfect example of the Mandela effect. My hair has always been short. And this is my Schneider skink, Raylan. And today I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons why Schneider skinks might just be the best pet lizards ever, even if you might not have heard of them. Let's get to it. Okay, before we get into it, high level, Schneider skinks, often called Berber skinks, even though they are not Berber skinks, and I'll get into that more in a bit, are medium-sized skinks found in temperate and semi-arid regions of northern Africa, the Middle East, and Asia. Basically, eastern Algeria right across to India. They are diurnal, very active, as you can see, and they like to play with your hair. They are engaging, and as far as I'm concerned, they'd look great in a teeny little cowboy hat. Am I right? I sure hope I am. We named this guy Raylan for that very reason. In any case, don't tell the other lizards, but I think that these guys might just be the best pet lizard all around that you could get. And reason 1 is... Am I whooshing to another angle? It feels like I should be whooshing. No? Oh, okay. That's fun. How big they get is number 1. Look, if you have your heart set on a big lizard, these guys are not going to fit that bill, obviously. If you only have a small amount of space, there are smaller lizards that might be better for you. I highly recommend these guys for that, by the way. Super cute. But generally speaking, all around, at an adult size of 12 to 15 inches, maybe a little bigger, they are the perfect size lizard for an amazing pet. Oh, hey, there's that whoosh. Okay. They are big enough that you can easily see them while they do their thing in their enclosure, and you don't need to be too worried about handling them, you know, as long as you're reasonably gentle, without being so big that they will need a huge enclosure. Although they'd happily use all the space you can give them if you want to go big, or have multiples. More on that in a bit. They do have very sharp teeth and claws, but again, at this size, they are very unlikely to do any kind of real lasting damage. They really are the perfect size all around. Number 2, they are super easy to care for. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about their care, this isn't a care guide, but they are not difficult at all to house, feed, or care for. In terms of an enclosure, a 36 by 18 by 18 like this front opening Exoterra is great. Although I will be moving Raylan into a 36 by 18 by 36 just to give him a little bit more climbing room. This is a good size for a single skink, maybe even a pair. If you are housing multiples, which you can do in some cases, you should go bigger. And like I said earlier, you could go as big as you want, like really big. They'll probably use all of the space. But yeah, you can have a perfectly happy, properly enriched skink in an enclosure like this, no problem. They love to burrow and they love to climb, but they are only really good at one of those things. So you'll need to have rocks and branches for them to climb and to explore on, and deep substrate to cushion their falls and for them to burrow into in their shame because they can't climb. It is so much fun watching Raylan scramble around. Heat is nothing too excessive. They need a basking temp of 105 to 110 degrees. Warm, but nothing that's hard to hit. Humidity needs to be around 40 to 60%, and that's easy to hit for most circumstances. They do need UVB, which is a bit pricey and needs to be replaced every 6 to 12 months, depending on the type of bulb, but overall, their setup is not going to break the bank and is not hard to maintain. Feeding is pretty easy too. They are omnivorous insectivores. Crickets, mealworms, superworms, or whatever cockroaches are legal where you live are great. Add in a bit of fruits and veggies like blueberries or leafy greens. I've also found that Raylan absolutely loves crested gecko diet. Like, he'll even drag the deli around so that he can arrange it so he can eat it easier. Overall, they are super easy to maintain. The only thing about them that gives me pause to suggest that these would be an incredible first pet lizard for someone new to the hobby is their activity level, which leads me to number 3, behavior. Like I said, these guys are super active and fast. He's just tired now. Particularly mid-morning to early afternoon. If you like observing your lizard, you will see all sorts of adorable derpy activity. Their desire to climb and jump far exceeds the level of coordination they have, so it's always an entertaining show. And their determination is through the roof. If you enjoy interacting and handling your lizards, well, you're in luck there too. Raylan is eager to come out, zipping out onto your hand and out of his enclosure. He particularly likes hiding in my hair or sitting high up on my head. He can't do that now, and he was upset. He didn't recognize me. But usually he's just content to just walk around on my shoulders, or while I sit and watch TV or read or crochet or do my maintenance on other tanks. I find he's almost bird-like in that regard. He wants to be with you and on you at all times and watch what you're doing, but wants any pets or interaction with him to be on his terms, you know? I don't know, it's weird. He is very bird-like. They are reckless, and they are far speedier than their stubby little legs suggest. So if you are not careful or haven't handled lizards enough to read their body language and know that they are about to zoom around, they might get away from you. Fair warning. In the enclosure, they are great too. One of the reasons I recommend front opening enclosures is so that you can visit your pet in their space instead of always taking them out into yours. I love hanging out with Raylan in his house, and he seems to like it a lot too. He's happy to eat out of my hand. He likes to be pet or scritched. Right here. But usually only when he asks, but he's wonderful. Look at how sweet he is. Many people keep these guys communally. If the enclosure is big enough, you can have multiple skinks living together as long as they all get along, obviously. Pairs are okay too, as long as they are different sexes. Same-sex pairs will often fight, and surprisingly, from what I hear, females are more likely to fight than males. If you didn't know, it's usually the other way around. Raylan was part of a hopefully breeding pair and did have a tank mate in his last home, but apparently he was a bit of a jerk and did not get along well with his partner, so he was rehomed. And will be living with me as a bachelor for the rest of his days, which I don't actually know how many of those there will be. These guys in captivity can live up to 20 years, but I really don't know how old Raylan is. He's had, I think, at least 2 previous owners, so I'm guessing he's at least 5. In any case, these guys are active, social, affectionate lizards and are wonderful to watch and interact with. Their cuteness, how cute they are, is despicable. So look at this little grumpy face. He's so cute. And the orange spots along his back and his side and down his tail, they're beautiful. I love the derpy, just dumb orientation of skink bodies with the like tiny legs on a chunky body. How is that supposed to work as a body design? We're gonna give you a thick body, but your legs are gonna be corgi sized.
Works for corgis.
I mean, yeah. You'll notice that Raylan's tail has a distinctive change in appearance partway down. If you're familiar with lizards, you probably know that some of them can drop their tail. That's the case with these guys. Unlike many geckos that have one fracture zone that can break off the whole tail, these guys can drop varying lengths of their tail. It may just be the end, or the whole thing, or anywhere in between. And dropping isn't really the accurate term. They can't really choose to ditch it. It kind of just needs to be pulled off. And as I understand, it's not that easy to do. So you shouldn't have to worry too much about it if you are gentle in handling your lizard and, you know, not ripping their tail off. If it does come off, a completely new tail will regrow. It'll be as big and similar in shape to the original, just a little bit different in the coloration. I don't actually know how Raylan lost his tail. I'm sure he has an exciting tale to tell about that he'll share around a campfire one day, but I think it's super cute and it just adds to his personality. Number 5, good luck finding one. Last up, number 5.
What?
Last up at number 5, they are not common. This might seem a little strange to say, and to be honest, this is also one of the things that I like least about them, but I needed another entry in this because who's gonna watch a top 4? And this is also absolutely applicable, so bear with me. These are not very commonly kept lizards. There are not a lot of folks who have been able to successfully breed them in captivity, so you're not going to come across them all that often. I should point out that while I think Raylan is a he, these guys are notoriously difficult to sex, might be why they are tricky to breed. So Raylan might be a Raylana, but he doesn't really seem to care what I call him as long as I bring him the food. Hence why I can say he's got a dumb little sausage body and little twiggy legs and sticky fingers. Look at his little cute toes, they're stick. In any case, they aren't like super rare, but they're not terribly common. So if you see some, consider getting them. And not only will you have an amazing new pet that will love you and you will love them so much, but you will be the envy of any reptile loving friends and family or strangers on the internet if that's who you like to impress. And for as rare as they are, they're not very expensive. In the States, I've seen them for as little as like $60. Up here in Canada, a little bit more expensive, but still a fraction of what you'd pay for a blue-tongued skink. Equally dumb body, so you're aware. Probably looking at less than 200 loonies to get your very own, if you can find them. The downside though is, as I mentioned, there aren't a lot of folks breeding these guys, so if you do find one, there's a pretty good chance that it is a wild caught. Like I said, I am not Raylan's first owner, so I don't know if Raylan was captive bred. I hope he was, but there's a very good chance that he was legally imported as a wild caught, probably from Egypt, which is where most of the imports for these guys come from. Now, I want to be super clear. I support purchasing captive born and bred reptiles. I would never seek out and purchase an animal that I know was from the wild directly from an importer or pet store that buys from wild importers. If you choose to do so, that's your thing. And there are arguments for conservation benefits of importing animals for the pet trade, but truthfully, I think that some of those arguments ring hollow or might be made in bad faith by people who just want to justify their actions. But I am not looking to get into all of that. It's a very complex topic. Please don't go piling on in the comments about how you support it or are absolutely against it. I'm just sharing this so that you have the facts as it relates to their availability. I am comfortable taking Raylan into my home despite there being a good chance he was wild caught, because he's been in captivity for so long, and I am not putting my money in the hands of someone who's going to turn around and spend it on importing more wild animals. If you see someone on Craigslist or Kijiji looking to rehome their pet Schneider skink, I recommend that you snap that up. If you know someone who is selling captive bred, snap that up, support them. Do that. If you see one in a pet store, ask where it came from. Just be informed. You should know where your pets came from and make an informed decision that you can be comfortable with, yeah? Okay, that took a bit of a turn, but at the end of it all, I'm excited at the prospect of these guys being more available as domestically produced pet, and when that happens, you better believe their popularity is gonna skyrocket. Especially if this is what they're like when they're wild caught. Imagine what they'll be like after a few generations of actual domestic breeding. They'll be fantastic. And they already are. So that's it for today. I hope you like learning about why these guys are so awesome. If you want to... Oh, okay, I didn't circle back to the Berber skink thing. Yeah, okay, thanks for reminding me. I didn't know the talk. Oh, okay, here's the Coles notes. Berber skinks, true Berber skinks, Eumeces algeriensis, commonly called the Algerian skink or Algerian orange-tailed skinks, but mostly known as Berber skinks. They are native to Algeria, duh, and other parts of West Africa, and were actually pretty popular in the 90s and imported in high numbers. Well, one day some export laws changed and suddenly you couldn't export them legally, either wild caught or farm produced. But these guys, Eumeces schneideri, look very similar, they're the same genus, and could still be exported from many countries where they were found. Egypt most notably, as I mentioned earlier. So they started shipping these guys out to Europe and US and Canada under the Berber skink moniker, which is why you often hear them referred to that way, and why enthusiasts of the larger Algerian skinks refer to them as true Berber skinks, to differentiate them from these imposters. This is also why you will often see in almost every care guide or blog post about them that Schneider skinks are cited as being from West Africa, even though they aren't found there. Real Berbers are. These guys, not so much. So there you go. Okay, real outro this time. Thanks for watching. A special second thanks to my patrons on Patreon who help me do all the cool stuff I do for my reptiles and channel. You guys are the best. For as little as $2 a month, you can add your support to my efforts here and get access to all sorts of cool stuff. What else? Oh yeah, don't forget to hit all the YouTube buttons down there, like, subscribe, wee little bell, and until next time, remember to nurture all nature. Bye! Raylan does not like my haircut. He did not recognize me. I'm fast. Cool.
Cool.
Are we recording?
We are.
Cool. Do you think you can hear Oscar Berlin?
You might. Yeah, he might get picked up by the mic.
I hope he does. I love it. I love it when cats purr and it comes up in the background of something, like just completely by accident. I love that because then you get to hear someone else's cat purring. That's amazing to me. I love how they have a happy sound. They just buzz when they're happy. That's great. Hey, if you want to see how to bond with another super smart lizard, check out one of these videos here featuring my Tegu Jub Jub. Pro tip, those tips work for this guy too.